Hello dear viewers, welcome to another episode. Every day as you exit your home and leave, you're opening the door for infinite number of possible scenarios. Some of them can change your life. There are scenarios I imagine every day: getting stuck in an elevator, a taxi cab with loose brakes, and my boss wiping out his gun to threaten me for not hitting target. There are many scenarios, my friend, that can eventually lead to your death. But before reaching the elevator or getting into the cab, I need to face that dog tied outside. You're afraid of dogs, abo Mead? I don't fear them, my friend, I just avoid their harm. Let me tell you Jacqueline Duran's story. You don't know her and I didn't too, but she's an American girl who was an expert in dog sitting. A couple of days before Christmas, this lovely girl went to a family's house to do her job, and they left the door open for her after they left. Everyone was reassured since she sat with the two dogs one time before, but when she entered the house, they attacked and mauled her. You get the picture. How many bites? 800 bites. She lost 30% of her blood. Her heart stopped several times on the operation table. In short, she survived by a miracle, and this is what she looks like after the surgeries. Saving the girl was stalled for 37 minutes, not until the police arrived at the scene, but until they managed to shoot the dogs and get her out. One would tell me, so abo Mead, the dogs were from a violent breed? My friend, it's more complicated than this. This story freaked me out, abo Mead. I want to understand what was the first man thinking of when he domesticated dogs. You know what? You're doing good, my friend. I'm impressed. Your question is reasonable, in place, and straight to the point. It's true. Imagine being in the forest next to a wolf. You play with its belly, scratch its head, and tell it to sit. Do you expect that he'd be a good boy? Is that a logical plan? You're right, abo Mead. It's not logical and even impossible. You relapsed. You're more impatient than before. I'm tricking you. Of course the plan worked. They're in the street and harass as at Fajr time. Domesticated. The plan did work, and dogs were domesticated, which drives me crazy. It was a very random plan. But it amazingly worked for tens of thousands of years. Dogs became the oldest animals ever domesticated by man in history. But man is also excused. Old-age humans saw wolves as peers and rivals, because they lived in herds like men, and hunted in packs like them too. They didn't depend on fast running, but on walking for long distances. They surrounded the prey until it got tired and exhausted, and then they attacked it. They don't try to fight and overpower it like lions. Men and wolves' behaviors were similar in these aspects, rivals and peers. Imagine getting one of these rivals after separating or being kicked out of its pack, to live beside you and eat your food leftovers. What would you do? Kick it out or say it's a good boy? Men said it's a good boy, which makes sense for a reason. Wolves were superior to humans when it came to smelling. They were 10,000 times better than men. They could smell prey over a mile away. So if a wolf came to you, it's to your benefit. Since then, thousands of centuries of domesticating wolves flew by, and the artificial selection results in hundreds of different dog species that live to this day. The small, big, violent, playful, scary, and cute ones. And they're actually cute, my friend. I won't lie. When men and dogs sit together, they release oxytocin, the hormone of kindness, that plays a role in getting milk for breastfeeding, the hormone that bonds a mother and her baby. Fun fact, my friend, dogs can recognize 150 words, and can count to 5, and understand that 1 + 1 = 2. So what abo Mead? I too understand that 1 + 1 = 2. What's so impressive? Why are you comparing yourself to them? I know you know, that's normal. Dogs have the IQ of 2-year-olds, so cute. But the statistics say that they're still wolves. They didn't forget who they are. In the US, there are more than 4.5 million dog bites yearly, and dogs kill from 30 to 40,000 people around the world every year. Remember Jacqueline. They are originally wolves. Wolves that can scar, hurt, and kill, but also maybe not. The US 4.5 million bites, only 800,000 out of them need medical care of any kind. Dr. JD from Scrubs can medicate it. 0.81% of the biting conditions don't result in injuries that require intense care. So yes, they do attack, but not as severe as wolf attacks. I have a question, abo Mead, that you'll find smart, I promise. Are they wolved up dogs? Or dogged up wolves? What's this question? Or they're dogs that forget their origins most of the time, but sometimes things trigger them into being aggressive and attack. A good question. Really? Really? abo Mead? I feel you'll say impatient. No, it's a good question. Really? abo Mead? Enough, my friend. Can we continue now? Animals usually attack humans in two cases: whether they see us as prey to eat, which is rare because we don't taste good. The famous example here is the polar bear. Or they attack because they felt afraid in a certain situation, so they do what's called defensive attacks, like the brown bear. Dogs revert back to wolves when they're scared. Dogs or animals' fear is different from ours. They don't fear time or their image in society. They don't fear abstract things. They fear actions. They see these actions as signs of danger. Our logic is different from the animals. Instincts control animals' behaviors, because they don't have cerebral cortex, or centers for thinking and judging. Instinct drives them, the instincts of survival, food, mating, and protection. Protection of small puppies, its owner, and anyone else in its circle. Anything from the zone it knows. Simply, if the dog felt a life threat, it will attack and bite. If the dog was cornered, it will bite and wreak havoc. Dogs shouldn't feel threatened by a human, or to be left taken away by fear. Even a passing jump scare would make a dog bite. This doesn't mean that any scared dog will be aggressive, and the delivery man knows. It means that every aggressive dog is usually scared. But it didn't just stop here. Have you ever seen a hippo pooping while spinning its tail fast like a fan? That's not multitasking or bringing fresh air. You know why it does that? To spread the poop and smell. Why are you saying it proudly? Abo mead. It's not spreading world peace, it's spreading its ferments. The hippo here tries to mark its territory with its smell. That's a territorial behavior. All animals have the same territorial behavior. Dogs are very strict and hostile towards anyone approaching its area. There's a 50% chance for a dog to bite if you crossed its territory. I've read that this is the reason why the most people subjected to attacks are mailmen and delivery men. That's the mistake that the two dog owners fell in, with Jacqueline that we talked about at first. On that night that she entered their house, in the absence of the owners, and underline this, and because the dogs didn't know her enough, their behavior was to protect their and their owners' territories. Let me talk to you about vaccinations. You know that dogs aren't the only animals that transmit rabies? Foxes, squirrels, and mice also transmit it. Even cats can transmit it, probably more than dogs do in countries like the US, because there are few stray dogs there, and the cats are left to wander freely more than dogs. Actually, the probability of someone dying of a dog bite is 1 to 112,000, and that probability is doubled in case of bee or wasp stings. Since this is the US, the probability of someone dying of a gunshot is 1 to 7,000. You're in danger from a bullet more than a dog in the US. When you're in the streets, you fear people, not dogs. The star-crossed one gets bitten by a dog in New Jersey. The situation is different in the developing countries, because they have more stray dogs that are subjected to hunger, weakness, diseases, injuries from fights with other dogs, abuse, and mistrust in the environment and people. I don't want to tell you what little kids do to them, my friend. That's not just continuous fear, it's continuous terror, meaning that the probabilities of attacks and biting is likely, and they are the biggest reason for the rabies infecting bites. A rabies bite means 21 shots of vaccine. Actually, they're not 21 anymore. You say this in front of girls and look cool. Medicine has far more developed. But the mother's legend has to keep going because it's to protect children. In my pragmatic philosophy, it's better to be good than right. What do we care about in the end? Isn't it for children to not be bitten? 1 shot or 21 or 18, I'm not a pharmacist. I just want the children safe. But when it comes to stray dogs, it's different. Mind you that this dog cares for no one. It's exposed to famine, disease, and killing. Not just by man but also by other dogs that fight each other, whether it has rabies or not. Sorry, Abo mead, but why can't we say that stray dogs are a vicious breed? And that may be their nature that their genes impose. Indeed, my friend, connecting breeds to viciousness is one of the common aspects. For example, most of the deadly attacks of dogs were traced back to breeds like Pit Bull, Rottweiler, and German Shepherd. The German Shepherd looks a lot like a wolf. It may be smaller in size with jaw and claws, not as strong as a gray wolf, but their genes are identical. Let me tell you that the Pit Bull's breed reputation is terrible, where 66% of dogs' deadly attacks are from that breed. They're the cause of them. The Pit Bull is the #1 dog attacker on humans in the US, with around 3,400 attacks that resulted in 295 deaths. These numbers, at first glance, sound like this breed is aggressive and vicious, and needed to be get rid of. But that's not accurate, my friend. Pit Bull is the most dog breed that are aggressive created. Mind you that creating aggression is different from training. Dogs can be trained a specific behavior, that make them capable of protection, chasing criminals, and detection of drugs in malls and airports. There's a mall beside me, without naming it, has 2 retired dogs, old, aged and wise looking, shaved and gray-haired. They sniff around and they're always bending like they're really desperate, as if they are sniffing if there are bombs in the car or drugs or anything. Have mercy on the doggies. Believe me, my friend, whatever I have in the car they don't show any reaction. What will you get from the food court? Hot dogs? Here, dogs were trained, and became strong and decisive, without being violent or vicious. But creating aggression is based on abusing the dogs, from hitting, humiliation, isolation, and detention. This results in a disturbed, scared, and pressured dog, hence being vicious and dangerous even on its owners themselves. This either happens intentionally, like what happened with dog wrestling, which is banned now around the world, or happens out of ignorance or mental illness of dog owners. The pit bull was the most dog breed to get aggressive created and bet on during dog wrestling, the dog with the worst reputation. So it stayed in shelters more than other breeds. This affected its emotional state and its behavior. It's reasonable that what happens to him because of this isolation makes it even more aggressive. This reputation made anyone who got bitten to blame it on a pit bull. It's the pit bull that resulted in kind of a loop, my friend. Statistics of pit bull attacks increased, and also keep in mind that not all people are breed experts. I'm not a breed expert. Add this to your knowledge, that the small dogs are more aggressive. Really, ABO Mead? Can you repeat and explain to me? Small dogs are more aggressive. Wow, ABO Mead, you're so great. Anyway, my friend, the chances of small dogs biting is way higher than the bigger dogs. They're somewhat insecure, but their damage is minimal, so people overlook it. And reporting their attacks decreases or almost vanishes. Just like guns and shotguns, you know that they kill more than nuclear bombs, like we said in the Alaska 47 episode, but we will remember the nuclear bombs more, because they give a theatrical-looking damage. If you know a pet dog, your friends maybe, my advice is to approach it carefully in the presence and permission of its owner. Keep your hands by your side, and let it explore you first, and get to know your scent. When you reach out our hand, keep it to its chin under its jaw. Don't pat its head, you're not its mother. Don't approach it in the following states. If its owner is absent, or you're approaching the area it's protecting. I don't need to explain how it marks its parameters, or if it's by its owner's child hat it protects, or if there's a fence in the middle, or if it's eating, playing, or growling, and if it's a male during mating season, or if it's sick for any reason, and if it's a street dog, better not approach it at all, nor run next to it. What's this, ABO Mead? Is it an uptight employee? When will I play with it and pat it then? Haven't I been domesticating it for tens of thousands of years? Why can't I use my right as a human to interact with it? Not to approach it when it's playing or tired or sick. When do I approach it then? When it's sending out emails. I did my part and warned you, my friend, but if you're too bold for that, be my guest. But to have fully told you everything, if the dog attacked you, I'll give you a piece of advice. Don't ever run, because you'll be provoking the dog's chasing instinct. If you ran, it'll know that it's stronger and will run after you. Believe me, it's tough to beat a dog in running. We know our health. Most dogs are faster runners than us. Plus, when you run, you're feeding the dog's feeling of control. It doesn't just smell your fear, it sees it. If it saw it, it'll feel like controlling you, which increases the chances of it attacking you. Try to stand still and not look into its eyes, like this. This insinuates that you're not a threat nor care about it. So you don't pose any danger to it. Tell it in a deep ordering voice, no, or say, stop. Either way, it may only understand English. A local street dog, he's cursing at my mom. But this has to be in a strong and strict voice. Don't get nervous and say it in a squeaky voice, my friend, it'll worsen your position with the dog. Also try to distract the dog. If you have something in your hand, throw it. Maybe it'll run after it. Remember, it has a 2-year-old baby's IQ. I mean, keep in mind that you're higher in the evolution chain than them. So take advantage of what differentiates you. Don't run, you have 2 feet and it has 4. If after all these pieces of advice, the dog was so irritated by you, and decided to jump at you, you have 2 options, to try to put something in the middle, a bag or anything, or to take a fetus position on the ground to protect your face and neck. God be with you. You just sit like a fetus, and it'll bite what it reaches, but I hope it won't. Maybe a calf or thigh, but it'll be fine. Most importantly is to be silent and have your hand in a fist, because fingers are easy to be bitten. Don't give the dog your thumb. The second option is to fight back, dog to dog, and remember that its nose and back of its head are weakness points. Avoid its teeth too. May the odds be in your favor, and remember this under attack. I feel like although I told you all this, if a dog attacked me, I'll run. If you were bitten, you'd need to wash it with soap and water, and if it's a trusted vaccinated pet dog, then being isolated by its owner for 10 days would be enough, and mostly there won't be any symptoms or rabies. But if you think it's a stray dog that bit you and ran, then consider it has rabies just in case, and head to a hospital that has the dog antidote. That's all, my friend. You're now ready to go. God keep you and I safe. Don't forget to see the old episodes and new ones, look at the sources, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Excuse me now, my friend, I need to go mark my territory.